Welcome to this second part, which is this fourth part, which is called the IGCSE ICT, and the topic is intranet. The previous one we were looking at the internet, and this one we are looking at the intranet. Okay, we've talked about extensively. We've talked about the benefit of the internet. Now let's talk about the previous one. We talked about the benefit of the internet. Now let's take a look at what intranet is. An intranet is the name that is given to any private network. Okay, your private network, not the public network. We call it the intranet, like the one the banks. The banks, they have their own specific internet called the intranet. It's a private network thing. It's not public. It's not general. Everyone do not have access to it except you work in that organization. And it provides similar service with the internet. Same thing, email, messaging, web pages, you can do with everything. They have their own broadband. They have their satellite in front of them. They link to the big satellite. We use their own satellite dish. They link with the main satellite themselves. They don't share with the public. This is to avoid being easily hacked or easily being intruded into their system. So they use their own specific internet called the intranet. Okay, so it's a private network. It's a private network that is specific to specific organization, big organization. Now these services are only for the users of the intranet. Okay, you cannot have access to it. The moment you're no longer part of that organization, the moment you are not in that organization, you cannot have access to these their services. You cannot have this access to their specific mailing, email messages, and general messages, web pages. They are all the work they do, the software, log into their web page and do the work, and the banking software they use it. They use it. If you're not with them, you cannot have. Also, oil and gas companies, they use like Petronas. They use their own intranet. They don't use the general internet. They use their own intranet. So it's a private network for specific organization or specific government agencies. They have the intranet. They use their own intranet. So it's not public. So it's very not same like the internet services, which are generally public. These services are specifically private. They are specifically private. These services are private. Now, businesses and other organizations, they often have the intranet, okay, for use by their employees. You know, the people you hire to work for you, they are your employees. The owners are the owner of the business. The owner of the business, they are called the employer. The owner of the business, they are called the employers. The people you hire to work with you, they are the employees. So when you set up a private network within your organizations, you also hire people to work with you. These people are your employees. This employee in your organization, they use the intranet. Now, intranet is a network that is locked. It's locked. No one can access it except those who work in that organization. No any other person. They are not public. They are not public things. Okay, it's not like a public tap or public toilet where everyone have access to. Okay, in a relaxation center or whatever, garden or picnic centers where everybody have access to. No, these are private network that are specifically for the organizations and the employees that are working in those organizations. Okay, it's locked against the world. It's locked against the rest of the world. Only those organizations have access to this network, and they're called intranet. Private networks are called intranet. Okay, now typical use of intranet, what they use them for. Now let's start with the advantages of what it's used for. One, view the internal web pages. The internal web pages of the organizations, okay? Not to be view external web pages. Your companies, the big companies that hire you, for example, in the banking sector, let's say you work for a Maybank or you work for, okay, I just named the banks you know. Okay, let me use International Bank now, HSBC, city banks. So you can only view the web pages. You know, they don't just have one web page. They have multiple web pages. Okay, so you can only use the intranet to view that organization's web pages. Example is the company's calendar in their pages. You can view the upcoming event in their web pages that you can view. And the software they are using, you can view if you are working with them. You can log in if you are part of the organization. You have the username and password. You can log into your specific area that they've designated for you to work in the organization. So you can use to view the internal web pages. Another usefulness of the intranet is internal email and instant messages between workers. You can say the email you are sending to each other is within the, the company can be so big that it has many branches. So even if the branches are scattered in different states like Perak, Terengganu, Kuantan, okay, as long as within the same place, you can send internal email. Even if it's in different countries, you can send internal email from internet, from within the intranet. You can send internal emails to yourself, and they have instant messages. Okay, even for example, like with some academy portal or with some university portal, we have internal messages. You can begin to chat. You can send message from the portal. Okay, internal messages. So even if you're not using intranet, but there's a level you will grow up to, you will have to use intranet. Okay, to minimize the public. There's a certain level you grow to use your intranet, not internet. Okay, so this is another advantage. Another advantage is sharing of internal documents. You can share documents within the other employees of the same organization. So these are the benefits of, you don't use them for public. You use them for that organization. But you can do everything that is being done on public within the internal space. Within the internal space. You can do everything that is done on public within the internal space. Okay, let's go to the next one, which is setting up a small network. If you want to set up a small network in an office, in your house, what are the things that is required? What are the things that you're supposed to do when you're setting up a small network? So if you want to build a small network in your office, in your house, in your work area, anywhere, in your campus area, you want to set up a small network, what are the things you need to build it from the very beginning? So you need to buy some of this hardware before you can set up a network. Number one is one or more switches. You can buy one or more switches. If it's a very small network, I think one switch is enough. You need to buy a switch and then, or a hub. If you cannot afford a switch, you buy a hub. Okay, or you buy 2 hubs. If you know the place you want to set it up, you want it to a bit cover a wider area. So you can buy 1 or 2 switches or 1 or 2 hubs if you don't have, because switches are more expensive and they are more intelligent. They are intelligent. So you can buy 1 or 2 or more switches to link your devices together. Certain devices to one switch. The port will be full. Once the port is full, you have to buy another switch for depending on the number of computers or cloud workstations that you're going to connect to it. Another thing you need to do quickly if you're setting up your network, a small network, is you have to buy cables. I showed you cable yesterday. You have to buy cables. Okay, you have to buy cables, and you need the cable to connect to switch, and you need the cable to connect from the switch to your computers. Okay, you need the cable to connect to switch and to your computer. Then another thing is a wireless access point. The wireless access point, this could be part of the switch also. Wireless access point is attached to a switch or a router. It's always attached to a switch. Then another thing you need to buy is a router to connect your local area network to the internet. You need a router so that you can gateway it to the rest of the world, to one wide area network. Another thing you may buy is a firewall to prevent or to protect your network from intruders, from hackers, from people who will want to jeopardize your network. Another thing you need to have if you want to set up a small network is possibly you buy a bridge. Because if you already have a section of the network and you want a new network, then you need a bridge to connect to LAN. You need a bridge. So another thing is a server. You need to have a server to manage all the network functions, okay? Such as the network security, network file storage, and shared resources, such as your printer. So you need a server to manage all of this, your printing, your shared resource, your storage, your security. You need a server to to manage all of this. So these are the things you need. These are the things you need in order to build a network. Now, you will need to organize some other things if you are setting up a network. Not only do you have to buy all of these things, like the firewalls, the server, computer, the router, the wireless access point, or a switch. Once you buy a switch, I think it already comes with wireless access point. They're buy switches. Apart from this, you need to organize some of these things. You set up an account with an internet service provider. That's the next thing you do. After you bought all of these things, you have to set up an account with an internet service provider. You have to set up an account with an internet service provider. That's the thing. You set up your own account. Maybe you call it Western Academy, or with an internet. You must contact your internet service provider to provide internet for your network. So then the next thing you do, you need to organize, is to get an internet connection installed from your internet service provider to your location. They have to install. They have to bring the internet service from their place to your location. Okay. For example, if you use TM or Unify, they have to bring the internet, make sure internet runs to your home. Okay, internet is connected to your home, so you can plug there's an internet port. There's a contact port where you can connect your routers and your switches to. Okay. Then the next one is to configure the various bits of hardware and the software so that everything can work together in the network. You have to now configure. The last one is configuration. So these are the three things you do after buying all of these things. These are the things you do. These are the things you do after buying. Okay, these are the things you do after buying all of these things. You have to set up an account with internet service provider. You have to get an internet connection installed from your service provider to your location, and then you have to configure the various hardware and software together to work together. Now, this is your LAN, your local area network. You can see your switch here. You can see your switch here. Your switch and a hub. This connects to your server. This is your server. Okay. This could be a proxy server. This is your server. Okay. Your server can lock your network. And then these are all the various workstations, the various computers connected to your workstations. Okay. This is a workstation. This is a workstation. Wire-cleared computers connected to workstation. These are wire-cleared computers, like your desktop with wire. These are not wireless. Okay. You can also have wireless on this side. Okay. You can have wireless, which have access point. Every wireless have access point, like an antenna. Okay. To connect with the radio. Okay. This is a wireless local area network here. All of them in one big network, both the wired and the wireless in one local area network. This is a router here, router gateway. This is a firewall to protect your entire network. This is a firewall to protect, because it comes here. Because even this wireless is getting from this switch. It's getting everything from this switch wirelessly through the help of an access point. Okay? An access point, it's a gateway to link with the switch, and then all your laptops and your phones can get Ethernet connection. So there's a firewall to protect the entire network, and there's a router here to link you to the internet service provider. Then the internet service provider, like the Unify, TM, or Time, will link you to the internet. So this is the setup of a LAN, local area network. Here you have everything. Assume this is an office area. So you have where people can use laptop, and you have desktop in some offices. So this is a small organization, and this is what is required to set up a network. You have to buy a switch, a hub, you have to buy all your computers, buy printer, shared printer. This printer, all this computer can send their document to it and print from it, all of them. It's a shared printer. All of them has been connected because the printer is connected to the switch. The reason is that, you know, we learned in one of our previous classes that the switch has an intelligent operation algorithm. So everything you are sending to the switch, you just have to put the MAC address of the destination. So if you send it to the printer, you just tell this switch that it should send to a printer you want to print. The switch will queue it if other people are sending. You queue it. When they finish sending, they will send yours to the printer, and then it will be printed. So every computer, including this wireless one and this wired one, they can send to this printer. It's a shared printer. There's a server that controls everything on this network. What the server does, we mentioned it, we say the server manages the network functions such as the network security and network files storage, store the network files, and also share resources. So that's what the server is doing for this network. Okay, so thank you very much. With this, we come to the end of this section, part 4.